Are you thinking of buying a home in the St. George area? In this video, we're going to talk about things that you should be aware of before buying a home. Buying a home is most likely the biggest purchase you will ever make, and it's important to make sure that your money is well invested and the home is safe for those who are going to live in it. Hi, I'm Shari Harris with Fathom Realty. I'm blessed to help people every day who are looking to buy a new home, and I absolutely love it. All my contact information is below, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or I can do anything to help you. So let's start talking about what you should be aware of. Once you get a home under contract, there's a time period that's called due diligence, and as long as the original offer, the box is checked that it is conditioned upon due diligence. If anything comes up that you don't want to move forward with purchasing the home, you can back out and keep your earnest money. And you'll see on one of the pages in there, it has the exact date of the due diligence. So I always make sure that it's clear to my clients, like, this is how much time we have to do our research and make sure that everything looks good for this home. It's so important to protect that earnest money. Usually this is like 7 to 14 days. I will say during when we were having lots of bidding wars, some people were waiving due diligence, and that was kind of scary. And so I'm grateful. Pretty well all my clients agreed that was not a risk they wanted to take. And so one way to make the offer stronger, though, is to sometimes make that due diligence time period a little bit smaller if you're up against other offers. And so it's making sure that the things that you really want to check into, you have enough time to do that before the due diligence deadline. So some of those things that you would be looking into is first, like, the condition of the home. Having a home inspector come, and they're going to check the plumbing, the HVAC, the electrical, look at the structure, see if there's any signs of foundation issues, roof issues. They're just going to the appliances even, they'll run those, check those out. So they're just going through the home and looking for anything that's concerning. Signs that maybe there's water damage or fire or any of those kind of things. They'll be up in the attic, they'll be on the roof. Some inspectors will get on the roof, others use a drone. We have tiles on a lot of our roofs here, and you have to walk on those just right not to break them. And so different inspectors do that differently, as well as some builders will not let inspectors get on the roof and walk it. So it has to be done with a drone. So anyway, the home inspector is going to check all of these things out, and I love my home inspectors. They have really good reports. I have a few different companies I highly recommend. And they have really nice report that's going to show you, like, what's dangerous, kind of what's more cosmetic, and just lay it all out for you so you can see, are these things that we need to ask to get fixed? Are they deal breakers? Those kind of things. They also may encourage further inspections. It may be signs of termites. So we don't have a lot of cases of that here, but occasionally that does happen if there's been water damage that wasn't taken care of, or unpainted wood. I've seen, so there's different kinds of termites. So anyway, if they see maybe signs for termites, then they will encourage, and they have great connections, as well as I do, of someone who could come out and do an inspection and see, is this for sure termites? And if so, how much damage has happened? Or scoping the lines. Most of the home inspectors don't do that automatically. Some can do it for an additional fee. Sometimes you have to get another company involved, but they can go in with a camera and scope the lines. One home that this was done, it was really a good thing they did, because they had found out that there were some problems with how the drainage, somehow, I'm trying to remember exactly, it was like the gutters where the water comes off the house was going into the sewer. And anyway, if we had rained a lot and that got backed up, it would have pushed sewer up into the home. And so anyway, so you can catch stuff like that, blockages, deteriorating pipes. So getting the Pipe scoped can be important. I will admit, not everybody does that, but that is one thing to think about. Another thing they might recommend is someone to come check out the foundation. If they see signs that the home may be sinking on one side, and so there's certain cracks that are a sign that's happening, doors are getting stuck, windows are stuck or cracked, things like that, they may encourage you to have somebody come out and check the foundation. We do have collapsible soils, expanding soils, so we do have a lot of homes that have had to have different mitigation done to the soil before they were built. Some homes are on piers, so there's a lot of different things that they do. And so these things can be fixed, but it's super important to recognize the signs of that before buying a home and what the cost may be required, and maybe you can get it fixed beforehand, because that can be costly. We also have issues sometimes with the cement. It's kind of being eroded away. I can't remember now, alkaline pH levels, acidity. I can't remember the science of it all, but anyway, you can kind of see the cement kind of falling apart. And so that's one thing, especially if that's happening underneath your home, that can cause some kind of waves and different settling issues with the home as well. So it's important to have experts to check these things out and make sure everything structurally with the home is safe. It's also important to look at the neighborhood. You can check the sex offender registry. I recommend, if you are local, to drive the neighborhood different times of the day to just kind of see what it's like. If you're not local and are just here for a visit, just visit the neighborhood throughout your trip. As well as you can, if there's a school nearby, like drive the neighborhood around when school's getting out, so you can get a feel for the traffic that brings. Because sometimes if you are really close to the school, the line to get into the school is going to be blocking your driveway, or parents are going to be parked in front of your home picking up. Some people don't mind, others are super annoyed by all the traffic when school gets out. Or if you live near a high school, and you're gonna have all those new drivers and stuff. So those are some things to consider, to see what that's like. Also, feel free to talk to the neighbors. Go around and kind of ask them what they think of the neighborhood. I have had that result in some people not buying homes before, but it's good to know the feel of the neighborhood. So I'm surprised at how many neighbors are so happy to talk to people and answer any questions they have about the area. Another thing, kind of going back to the house, when you're walking through the house, if there are signs that maybe they've added on an area, it's important to see if the seller can provide documentation showing that that was permitted and had all of the inspections, the final inspection. If they don't have it, calling the city's building department, sometimes you can get a hold of the documents that way, so you can make sure that everything was done up to code. Other signs, because sometimes they do a really good job of a remodeler adding on, is looking at previous listings for the home. If they have a different number of bedrooms or bathrooms or square footage, that can be a sign that something's been done to the home. As well as if the tax records are not matching the MLS listing, then you know to kind of look and see why is this showing different numbers, what's happening. Good sign to check for permits. So that's always good to check out. You never want to buy a home and find out that it wasn't up to code and you've got to rip something out later on, or it's just not safe for your family. And if you're buying a new build, just make sure it has that certificate of occupancy. If you're getting a loan, they're going to require that anyway. If you're paying cash, just want to make sure that you have that. That shows that all the inspections have been done. And I also recommend, even if it is a new build, getting a home inspector involved to just kind of check things out. Some of my clients have had a home inspector involved from the beginning, who is kind of walks through it through the different stages to make sure everything looks good. Builders also do have a warranty, so anything that comes up during that first year, usually they will fix. And so it's important to check on kind of the warranty that the builder's offering. Some offer ones that are longer or cover more than others. So that's something to consider, is what kind of warranty is coming with the home. If you're buying a home that's older, you can buy your own home warranty, or there is a place in the contract when you write your offer that you can ask the seller to buy a home warranty, which can save you a lot of money with some unexpected things that might happen. I recently used mine with a garage door that stopped working, so ended up paying for itself already. Also think about how you're going to use the home. If this is a home that you're going to rent out now, or down the road you might want to rent, you need to make sure that that is okay, like the zoning regulations. You can call the city and talk to them. You can look at zoning maps. Also consider what the HOA says, because the city may say, that they require it be at least 30-day rentals, whereas the HOA may say 6 months or no rentals at all. So you'll want to check into that if you think that at some point you may want to rent it out. Just know beforehand what those rules and regulations may be. As well as we have some areas of towns that are nightly rentals, and so checking, like, if you're going to live there full time, are you comfortable with the nightly rental crowd where it's going to be changing a lot? If you're wanting to do nightly rental, then making sure that that is allowed where you are purchasing the property is also very important. Something I don't come across very often, but if the home is built before 1978, there is a disclosure about possibility of lead. There's a pamphlet that is given out that goes over what lead can do, the health concerns, how to get it tested, and how to fix it. And so on older homes, that is something that we look into to make sure that if that's already been taken care of, or if there's a possibility of still having lead paint in the home. Another thing you might hear about sometimes is radon. So this is a radioactive gas. It has no smell, color, or taste. It's produced from the natural radioactive decay of uranium, which is found in all rocks and soils, so it's everywhere. And it typically is moving up through the ground to the air. And at times this can get trapped in the home, and it has been linked to causing breathing problems and cancer at higher levels. There's no way to tell just by looking what neighborhood or what house, because it's been found in one house and no other ones in the subdivision. So I will say we don't find it as often here compared to even an hour north in Cedar City. They see it a lot more than we see it here and throughout northern Utah. Possibly because we don't do as many basements. I know you often find those higher levels in basements. So it's not a very expensive test to just have it checked to make sure. And there are mitigation systems to help remove that from your home as well. So it is fixable if it is found. Another thing to consider is just because there's a fence there doesn't mean it's the correct property line. The only way to know 100% that it's correct is if you bring in a surveyor and have them stake it out. Not a lot of people do this unless it's hasn't been, there's no fences or no obvious divider of property and they're building on it and they want to make sure they're within the boundaries. But it is something to be aware of, that there's no guarantee that when they built the fence that they actually had a survey done. So something to consider. Another thing is a lot of people like to check the FEMA flood map. We don't have tons of flooding here, but we do have some rivers that you'll laugh depending on where you're from, because they will be a complete dry gravel wash with nothing in there at times, and other times there'll be a lot of water in them. So sometimes it's hard to imagine that they could ever flood or cause any damage, but in certain points on the river this has happened. And so the flood map will show you where that's happened, so that's something to consider, as well as if you are within those flood zone areas, most likely your homeowner's insurance is going to require that you have flood insurance, which will really increase how much you're paying. And so I like to talk to the insurance company early on in the process, give them the address, and see if they come up with anything that's going to increase the cost to insure the home. If it's like in a high fire risk area, it could be more expensive. And so just kind of getting the feedback from the insurance company as well about if there's any additional insurance or high risk is a good thing to check out. So we talked a little bit about HOA, but I want to go into more detail with that. So the HOA can determine a lot of things in the neighborhood. What color you paint your house, if you can have a trailer on your driveway, or park any cars on your driveway. Can you work on your car on your driveway? Yeah, like what pets, any additional structures you might want to add. So anyway, there's all these things. So it's important to take the time to read all the HOA documents and see if there's anything in there that you're like, yeah, I could not live with that. As well as to go over their financial documents and minutes of previous meeting or two, just to see if there's anything coming up. The possibility of an assessment for something, maybe they didn't haven't managed the finances very well, or they've had some unexpected expenses or different things like that. So just to kind of see how things are running with the HOA. So check those out, as well as if you don't have an HOA, a lot of neighborhoods have CCNRs, which will also have a lot of rules. No chickens in your backyard, or the size of the home on the lot. So if you're buying a lot, this might dictate that the home has to be, at least 1,500 square feet on the main floor, or how tall the homes can be, or those kind of things. So also look over the CCNRs so that you can see, if you're okay with all those things. And some neighborhoods are really old and nobody remembers that there's any CCNRs, but always look over them and make sure that you're okay with those things. And that is something as an agent that I gather for my clients, all the HOA docs and the CCNRs, as well as getting a seller's disclosure. This is like a 15 to 17 page document where the seller is asked a lot of questions about the home. And so that can give you some ideas of maybe problems they've had, flooding, or fire damage or whatever. So you can look at that, and if you want, ask for additional information to make sure that these things were taken care of. And some things may be still an existing problem, but that can also direct kind of your due diligence, what you want to check. And I wish I could say that all sellers are 100% honest, but they're not. So don't solely rely on the seller's disclosures. That's why the home inspection is so important, so that you have another person looking over everything who is a specialist and can really knows what they're looking for. You will also get a preliminary title report from title and a plat map. This will show you where the easements are on the property, see if there's any liens, any problems with the property. If you have any questions, there can be a little long. They can look over it, the title company, and answer any questions you have about what it all means. But I do recommend looking that over, especially like say you wanted to put a pool in the backyard. This plat map might show that there's a utility easement through the back there, and you could never put a pool there. Another thing about pools is if that's like you're buying this home with plans to put a pool in it and you would not buy it unless you could put a pool there, I would recommend bringing in a pool company or two and have them look at the area, give you a quote, and also tell you whether they think it'll work there. Also, some areas with our soil issues, there's a lot of work that has to be done before a pool can be put in, and that can be super pricey. Some of them need, I don't know if they call them piers when they're using them on pools. I know they are with houses, but it's similar idea to support the pool. Or they might be like, there's no way we could do a pool here. So it's important to figure that out during the due diligence if that is going to be a deal breaker for you. Or if you were planning on building, a shed or a casita, you would want to make sure to talk to the building department and see if if that was possible, if you could do what you were planning with the property, as well as looking over those CCNRs and the HOA to see if they have any rules that could limit you from doing the things you want to do or completely prevent you. Another test that you can do, not a lot of people do it, is for like meth. We don't really have a lot of, if any, like drug houses where they're making the meth. We do have Interstate I-15 that runs through here, and you will see big drug bust out there on the freeway. I'm amazed at how they track them and know when they've crossed over into Utah, but they catch a lot out there. So you would think that we have an abnormal amount of drugs in our community. I don't think we're necessarily worse than other areas. I think we just catch a lot of it out there on the interstate as it's passing by. But some does trickle into our community. And the tricky thing with meth is you can't really smell it. I mean, some say maybe like a urine cat smell. I'm told that has to be like a lot of meth going on. But also just because it would be in the homes that you wouldn't necessarily expect. It can be, you know, a mom with multiple kids who wants to lose some weight and needs more energy, and she's smoking it to give her that energy, or snorting it, or I know if there's multiple ways you can take it. So you could end up having some of that meth residue in the home from that, or the grandparents' home where they took in, one of their grandkids, and they've been smoking in the back bedroom, and nobody knows, nobody smelled it. And so you can find that, and there are some studies showing that meth, can cause problems, especially for smaller children who may be playing on the carpet or licking the walls or whatever. And so a meth test, I think they're usually like $150. You can get that as well if that's a concern. Also making sure on the utilities that you understand, like if you're a septic tank versus, sewer, and hooked to the city, where your water's coming from. Sometimes the seller will provide some of their past utility bills to give you kind of an idea of what their cost has been. Making sure, like, does this home have gas? Most homes do, but occasionally you find a home that doesn't have gas. And so is that a problem or not? Who's your electric company? Some electric companies are more expensive than others, so evaluating the utilities is also important, as well as your property taxes, figuring out what that's going to be. You can get that information for the title company, and just making sure that it is being quoted to you based upon whether you're living there full-time or not, because primary home has a lower tax rate than a secondary home. So you will want to check on that so that you get a clear number for the property taxes. And then, like I've mentioned, the insurance before, finding out how much your insurance will be, because that can have a huge impact. Your insurance, your property taxes, your mortgage, and then all the utilities. So getting clear on that is important. Also checking for mold. If there's any signs of water damage, the home inspector is most likely to recommend getting some testing for mold done. That can be a huge health hazard. So that's one thing to consider having tested if there, like I said, any signs that there could be mold in the home. So I know I've listed off a lot of things, and I hope I haven't scared you off, because a lot of times we go through all this, due diligence, and we don't come across anything that's concerning. But it is good to just be cautious and to investigate and learn these things. If you've bought a home, I would love to hear if there's additional things that you think are important to check out before buying a home. And and just make sure that you do all this due diligence during that time frame, so that if anything comes up that you can't renegotiate, which often, if there are serious problems, we can often go back, renegotiate with the seller to, either they fix the things that are a concern, reduce the cost, or pay something towards closing costs so you keep a little bit more money in your pocket, so you can pay to get it fixed when you buy the home. So there are, so many things you can do. And so it doesn't mean that it's not going to work out if you find problems, because sometimes you can negotiate a great deal. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or additional comments about things that you think should be checked out, put those below, and I'll talk to you soon.